Thank you. Pinky, I'm going to kill the doorbell. Okay, and we are off and running.
Good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it into our website and podcast and our YouTube channel. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so that you can follow along. Tonight's recap will start on page 100. We'll start on page 97. Though an alcoholic does not respond, and end on page 100. And our study tonight will begin on page 100 and end on page 101. Do we have any announcements?
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and happy to have all of you join us tonight. We have some new folks. Welcome to Primary Purpose. Just a couple of quick announcements. Last night we had our quarterly group conscience. Excuse me. Please keep yourself muted if you can. Okay. So obviously it's one of those. We don't get those often. Thank you for taking care of that, Pinky. At any rate, we had our quarterly group conscience last night. It was very productive, and there has been some guidance moving into fourth quarter assembly, which will happen next month on the 15th, 16th, and 17th of November, closing out the year, and I am grateful to be your GSR and represent this group at Area Assembly and carry the voice of this group. Other than that, that's it for the announcements now. Well, one other thing. If you're new to us and you decide you like what we have to offer, and you're welcome to come back anytime, but should you decide you want to become a home group member, all you have to do is let us know, and we'd love to have you as a home group member, and you can have a voice in how this group operates. That being said, moving on with the meeting. Good evening again. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and welcome to the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic, and my name is Alyssa. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted, and sharing is to not distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. A friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share, and we will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study.
And let's invite the monks in to do what the monks do so well, and enjoy your time with God, folks. And coming to the screen in front of you is our family's Foglight prayer for those of you who wish to join us in it. Our Foglight prayer. God, let your love shine through us like a foglight, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
Amen. And Miss Terry is going to come in with our secretary's report. You're muted.
Sorry. I'm Terry, recovered alcoholic, substitute secretary tonight. I've asked Kenny to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Kenny.
I'm Kenny, and I'm ready to do what I gotta do. Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime, but we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic symptoms in his mind rather than his body. Page 23. We are now saying where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Thanks for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with a Gerbil Fellowship cage where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously because of this. Chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the elements to sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way, 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time? I don't see any hands up.
Oh,
Okay.
There we go. We got Tara. Welcome, Tara. Glad to have you. And
there she is.
And we had another one that accidentally got booted because we thought maybe it was a bomber. Turns out it wasn't. William, please extend our apologies and tell them they'll be able to come back next week because once we boot somebody, it's a 24-hour period till they can come back. Okay, Terry.
Okay, welcome, Tara. Okay, and then can I see a show of hands of recovered alcoholics? These are your potential sponsors. Okay. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week?
Linda, you have a milestone, or is your hand up from?
Yeah, it's up from before.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if you should require a Big Book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address Venmo, or PayPal posted in chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website, posted in the chat. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you, Terry. And
My pleasure.
and thank you, Kenny, for doing the recovered statement. From Chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself, nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 12. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 1. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous. Come on in, Miss Susan.
Hello, my name is Susan, and I am an alcoholic. And I think I read the short form and the long form. 1, our common welfare to come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. In long form, our AA experience has taught us that each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is but a small part of a great whole. AA must continue to live, or most of us will surely die. Hence, our common welfare comes first, but individual welfare follows close afterward. For me, this is like a valuable aspect of this tradition has been the fact that, no one can tell me or, compel me to do anything. Can't be punished, you can't be expelled from AA, thank God. And I see this as it serves, I learned a lot doing this. It serves as an important foundation, because my understanding, what I've read up, is that this is the heart and soul, to be able to lean on others, because I can't carry this torch if I have to want to give to others what I've been given to myself. I can take the magic and give it away, and I can receive the magic right back. And this tradition is more than just about service. I've learned how to lean on others for support. I didn't trust anybody when I was out there drinking, and but I'm now given a new chance, to really learn the value of trust by sharing my chinks in my armor, with fellow alcoholics. And this brings me closer to others, but I often find that even through my willingness to demonstrate some of my vulnerabilities, that I actually discover, the real extent of the strength in myself. And that's all, folks.
Thank you. Excellent, Susan. Excellent. Well done. And Susan is first time doing the traditions, and she will be with us for the next 2 weeks as well. So welcome into the fold. And now it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings which can't be reconciled as the program is described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the things we often hear is, don't make any major decisions for the first year. And Miss Marilyn is going to come in and tell us what the book has to say on the subject, and on page 76 in the second paragraph. Welcome, Marilyn.
When ready, we'll say something like this. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marilyn.
As we study, please make use of the pen, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight, we are going to start our recap on page 97, which will be read by Miss Terry, followed by our study portion read by Miss Nancy.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium starting back on our study portion that was read by Nancy. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply one sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
So basically, in English, what that means is that we are going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language and the questions give us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, observations based on what we just read. And if you have spiritual experience with this information, by all means, please share that with us. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you will see and hear a timer, and as per group conscience last night, as much as we didn't want to, we have decided to go with a 5-minute timer. It will be in the upper right hand corner of your screen, and there will be a little tone when your time is up. So please keep an eye on that clock, and it might be helpful to you and serve you well. Thank you.
However, the Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, i.e. your sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of our co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous: sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group. You want to take this part?
I'll let you go.
Okay. How we got here today, folks, we are in week 61 of this current session of studies. We are approaching our 5th year, and we are in our 3rd season of this study, and the study originated right here in my living room with 12 other alcoholics. And the way it works is that we start off on the title page with the very first promise in our Big Book, the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. And the format we use tonight, we use through the preface, through the forewords, through every aspect of the book and the first 164 pages. Because of the little asterisk on some of the pages, we're directed to go to the spiritual experience 3 different times in the early chapters, and we do that, and we study the spiritual experience through the question format as well. When we're done with the first 164, we go to Dr. Bob's Nightmare. We spend almost 8 weeks on Dr. Bob's story, and then we do 2 weeks of the traditions through the questions format as well. And then for week 94, closing it all out, we do 1 more week of the spiritual experience as a standalone evening with the spiritual experience. And then we circle the buzzards and we go all the way back to the beginning one more time. And so we are at week 61, so we have 33 more weeks to go until we circle the buzzards back around, and that's how it works around here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Before we start the recap, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised if you would like to be one of our answer readers. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it into our website and our YouTube channel. For the answer readers, please speak clearly into your microphones. We will ask the questions from our script by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Clip. The answers to the questions will be sentence by sentence, coming directly out of this week's study, beginning with the first sentence and ending with the last one. If you have experience, strength, and hope with the portion of the book that was just read, feel free to share. Please be mindful of your time and that others may have their hands raised and are waiting to share. A friendly reminder as we share, absence of profanity offends no one. All right, and Miss Terry is going to come in and read our recap.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Terry, recovered alcoholic. So an alcoholic does not, this is the bottom of page 97. Though an alcoholic does not respond, there is no reason why you should neglect his family. You should continue to be friendly to them. The family should be offered your way of life. Should they accept and practice spiritual principles, there is a much better chance that the head of the family will recover. And even though he continues to drink, the family will find life more bearable. For the type of alcoholic who is able and willing to get well, little charity in the ordinary sense of the word is needed or wanted. The men who cry for money and shelter before conquering alcohol are on the wrong track, yet we do go to great extremes to provide each other with these very things when such action is warranted. This may seem inconsistent, but we think it is not. It is a matter of giving that is in question. It is not the matter of giving that is in question, but when and how to give. That often makes a difference between failure and success. The minute we put our work on a service plane, the alcoholic commences to rely upon our assistance rather than upon God. He clamors for this or that, claiming he cannot master alcohol until his material needs are cared for. Nonsense. Some of us have taken very hard knocks to learn this truth. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking so long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of the dependence on God. Burn the idea into the consciousness of every man that he could get well regardless of anyone. The only condition is that he trusts in God and clean house. Now the domestic problem. There may be divorce, separation, or just strained relations. When your prospect has made such reparation as he can to his family, and has thoroughly explained to them the new principles by which he is living, he should proceed to put those principles into action at home. That is, if he is lucky enough to have a home. Though his family be at fault in many respects, he should not be concerned about that. He should concentrate on his own spiritual demonstration. Argument and fault finding are to be avoided like the plague. In many homes, this is a difficult thing to do, but it must be done if any results are to be expected. If persisted in for a few months, the effect on a man's family is sure to be great. The most incompatible people discover they have a basis upon which they can meet. Little by little, the family may see their own defects and admit them. These can then be discussed in an atmosphere of helpfulness and friendliness. After they have seen tangible results, a family will perhaps want to go along. These things will come to pass naturally and in good time, provided, however, the alcoholic continues to demonstrate that he can be sober, considerate, and helpful, regardless of what anyone says or does. Of course, we all fall much below this standard many times, but we must try to repair the damage immediately, lest we pay the penalty by a spree. If there be a divorce or separation, there should be no undue haste for the couple to get together. The man should be sure of his recovery. The wife should fully understand his new way of life. If their old relationship is to be resumed, it must be on a better basis, since the former did not work. This means a new attitude and spirit all around. Sometimes it is to the best interests of all concerned that a couple remain apart. Obviously, no rule can be laid down. Let the alcoholic continue his program day by day. When the time for living together has come, it will be apparent to both parties. Let no alcoholic say he cannot recover unless he has his family back. This just isn't so. In some cases, the wife will never come back for one reason or another. Remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. We have seen men get well whose families have not returned at all. We have seen others slip when the family came back too soon.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. And now Ms. Nancy is going to come in and read the study portion.
Nancy Alcoholic, both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. When working with a man and his family, you should take care not to participate in their quarrels. You may spoil your chances of being helpful if you do, but urge upon a man's family that he has been a very sick person and should be treated accordingly. You should warn against arousing resentment or jealousy. You should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight. Show them that he has entered upon a period of growth. Ask them to remember, when they are impatient, the blessed fact of his sobriety. If you have been successful in solving your own domestic problems, tell the newcomer's family how that was accomplished. In this way, you can set them on the right track without becoming critical of them. The story of how you and your wife settled your difficulties is worth any amount of criticism. Assuming we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things alcoholics are not supposed to do. People have said we must not go where liquor is served. We must not have it in our homes. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures which show drinking scenes. We must not go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't think or be reminded about alcohol at all. Our experience shows that this is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter with his spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be someplace like the Greenland ice cap, and even there, an Eskimo might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory he would escape the alcohol problem. In our belief, any scheme of combating alcoholism which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failing. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up with a bigger explosion than ever. We have tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. So our rule is not to avoid a place where there is drinking, if we have a legitimate reason for being there. That includes bars, nightclubs, dances, receptions, weddings, even plain ordinary whoopee parties. To a person who has had experience with an alcoholic, this may seem like tempting providence, but it isn't. The end. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Nancy. All right, so our batting order tonight is going to be Kenny, Marilyn, Linda, Gandalf, Pickle, William, and Nancy. So we are going to go back to the beginning of the study at page 100. And if you could all unmute. All right, Kenny, what must you read and what must you and your protege do?
Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress.
Thank you. Marilyn, if you both stick with it, what will happen?
If you persist, remarkable things will happen.
Thank you. Miss Linda, what has our experience shown us?
When we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned.
Thank you. Gandalf, Pickle? This is
lost.
a two-part question. If we follow the dictates of a higher power, what will happen? And that will be true regardless of what?
I'm lost. I lost my
We're on
place.
page 100. The sentence that you'll read is follow the dictates. I'll come back to you. William.
I'll find it.
So two-part question, William. If we follow the dictates of a higher power, what will happen? And that will be true regardless of what?
So we put our better hands to anything. We could follow the dictation of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and a wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstance.
Thank you. Nancy, when we are working with a new man and his family, what must we do? Or we must do what?
When working with a man and his family, you should take care not to participate in their quarrels.
Kenny, why?
You may spoil your chances of being helpful if you do.
Thank you. Marilyn, try to help the man's family do what?
But urge upon the man's family that he has been a very sick person and should be treated accordingly.
Thank you. Linda, what should they be warned against?
You should warn against arousing resentment or jealousy.
Thank you. Ganda, what should we help the family understand?
You should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight.
Thank you. William, help them see what?
Show them that he has entered upon a period of growth.
Thank you. Nancy, what should they hopefully remember?
Ask them to remember, when they are impatient, the blessed fact of his sobriety.
Thank you. And Kenny, if we have had domestic problems and found a solution for them, what should we do?
If you have been successful in solving your own domestic problems, tell the newcomer's family how that was accomplished.
Thank you. Marilyn, what can this accomplish?
In this way, you can set them on the right track without becoming critical of them.
Thank you. Linda, how important is the story of how my wife and I solved our problem?
Assuming we are spiritually fit.
Oh, this story, sentence before.
Okay, the story of how you and your wife settled your difficulties is worth any amount of criticism.
Thank you. Ganda, if we are spiritually fit, what can we do? Or we can do what?
Assuming we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things alcoholics are not supposed to do.
Thank you. William, people who do not understand say things like what? A very long sentence.
People have said we must not go where alcohol is served. We must not have it in our house. We must not friend who drink. We must avoid moving pictures. We show drinking scenery. We must not go into bars or into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles, or if we go to their houses, we mustn't remind them about our alcohol at all.
Thank you. Nancy, what does our experience show us?
Our experience shows that this is not necessarily so.
Thank you. Kenny, what do we do every day?
We meet these conditions every day.
Thank you. Marilyn, two-part question. What is wrong with the alcoholic who can't do that? What is not right?
An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter with his spiritual status.
Thank you. Linda, another two-part question. What would be his only hope for staying dry? Who might mess that up?
His only chance for sobriety would be someplace like the Man Cap. And even then, an Eskimo might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything.
Thank you. Ganda, would an Al-Anon endorse this last statement?
Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on this theory. He would escape the alcohol problem.
Thank you. William, what is one of our beliefs?
And I don't believe any shame of combating alcoholism, which proposed to shield the sick man from temptation, is doomed to fail.
Thank you. Nancy, what happens when an alcoholic tries to keep away from drinking?
If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up with a bigger explosion than ever.
Thank you. Penny, is this a matter of opinion or experience?
We have tried these methods.
Thank you. Marilyn, why is this so?
These attempts to do the impossible have always failed.
Thank you. Linda, so what is our rule?
So our rule is not to avoid a place where there is drinking, if we have legitimate reasons for being there.
Thank you. Ganda, what might that include?
That includes bars, nightclubs, dances, receptions, wedding, every plain, ordinary whoopee party.
Thank you. William, two-part question. Would a potential Al-Anon be comfortable with this? What does our experience demonstrate?
To a person who had experience with alcohol, this may seem the tempting providence, but it's not.
Thank you. Nancy, what is the important qualifications? 3 sentences.
You may note that we made an important qualification. Therefore, ask yourself on each occasion, have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going to this place? Or am I expecting to steal a little precarious pleasure from the atmosphere of such places?
Thank you. Kenny, if we come up with the right answers, what can we do?
If you answer these questions satisfactorily, you need have no apprehension.
Thank you. Marilyn, do we really have a choice?
Or stay away, whichever seems best.
Thank you. Linda, what 2 things must we be sure of?
But be sure you are on solid spiritual ground before you start, and that your motive in going is thoroughly good.
Thank you. Ganda, what should be our motive if we do go? 2 sentences.
Do not think of what you will get out of the occasion. Think of what you can bring to it.
Thank you. William, last question. If we are uncertain, what should we do instead?
But if we're shaky, if you are shaky, you had better work with another alcoholic instead.
Thank you. Jamie is going to come in with a comment.
I am. The comment, notice that the first 100 placed an exclamation mark at the end of the preceding sentence. Also notice where these suggestions are given to us. We should have taken the steps and started sponsoring alcoholics before trying to get into the normal life. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. All right.
Thank you,
If you have
everybody.
experience with the portion of the book that was just read, please feel free to share. Please be mindful of your time, that others may have their hands raised and are waiting to share. A friendly reminder as we share, absence of profanity offends no one. We are now open for comment, questions, observations, and spiritual experiences based on what was just read. Who's going to kick us off? Miss Mary, come in and share with us. And then I will be running the timer, so it'll be on the screen and in my box. And at the 5-minute mark, there will be a beep.
I was having trouble getting unmuted. I'm very sorry. Anyway, I was at my brother's funeral last week. And afterward, we were going out to have a late lunch. And my son's best friend was sitting next to me at the table. And this is a man I have known since he was a kid. And everybody was ordering a drink because the place specialized in beer. And he just looks at me and says, "Mary, do you want a drink? Do you want a beer?" I said, and then he realized, because I knew my son had told him that I went into recovery, which I didn't care because he's part of my life. Anyway, I just looked at him and I laughed and I said, "Michael, you really don't have to worry about it. I never liked beer anyhow." And it was all fine. I didn't want him carrying it because he's already worried enough. His father's about to have brain surgery. And I thought, he doesn't have to think he really upset me. And then we read this, and it was like, well, there you go. I didn't want to not go to the dinner or the late lunch because, you know, it was my brother's funeral. So it all worked out great. I didn't feel like I needed to order anything, and nobody bothered me about it other than Michael trying to be a gentleman. And it was all good. And that's all I thought about when we read that. I was like, oh gosh, just a week ago that happened. And it surprised me, quite frankly, that I had no desire. And I was quite happy about that. That, you know, here I was with a bunch of people I used to drink with. And I was fine saying, nah, no thanks. So, thank God for this program. And that's all.
Thank you, Miss Mary. Glad you're here. Thank you
So,
for sharing.
I'm sorry I was late. Today was Cassie's last appointment with her psychologist, and it took us a little while to get out the door. And I'm like, come on, Cass, I have a meeting. You know I have a meeting. But anyhow.
We're glad you're here. Thank
I'm
you for
glad
sharing.
to. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, Xavier, good evening. Come in and share with us.
Hey, good evening. Xavier, recovered alcoholic. Happy to be here. My wife, I really enjoyed the reading tonight. And my wife recently mentioned she was meeting with a sponsee today, and I made some smart aleck joke. Like, I like making juvenile jokes. Sometimes they're a little mean-spirited, and she noted, like, you know, she had a really good point. She's like, she was noting how she told her sponsee, like, it's really making a decision in step one. Just like a lot of things, you got to make a decision. It's vitally important. You know, before you do all the other action steps. And then she noted, like, you made a decision to stay sober, or excuse me, not drink but not be sober. So, you know, I'm like, does your definition of sobriety include not making juvenile jokes? And she said yes, and I agreed. So I noted, like, I could just make a decision not to make ridiculously juvenile jokes at the age of 44 that I really do enjoy. So what I've learned from this program is it's important for me to continue twofold. The greatest miracle is removing that obsession to drink. I mean, that's for me like the greatest, you know, miracle I can imagine in my personal life. But second fold is continuing that, you know, emotional sobriety. And I think the layers continue and can continue and can continue, and it's pretty much infinity. And continuing to recognize and learning to have the humility of, you know, where I might fall short of what that ideal looks like. And the reality is the steps can continue to help me get to a higher ideal that if I choose it, set that for myself. So based on my experience, what this program allows me to do is, in a way, it's kind of like choose your own adventure. My son's at an age now, he just turned 4, where I'm reading 2 different, like, choose your own adventure books. It's a different modern version of that. But A is the very, very similar. It allows me to, and my higher power has given me opportunity to continue to make decisions. And I can make a decision to, you know, have an ideal of what I want the outcome to be. And if that's a different version of sobriety than I have right now, AA then gives me tools, my tool chest to get there. Or I could choose not to have that outcome and not make that decision. And my experience is often I'll continue to live in an immature state of sobriety, I guess I'll put nicely. In an easier way, I think I've But in the past is I can do AA light and show up to like 1 or 2 meetings a week and leave it at that. Or I can make a choice to go further in and sponsor others and have these experiences and do daily inventory and meet with my sponsor. You know, basically do the work, be of service and continue to do the work and watch myself really, really grow, you know, taking these steps. I'm very grateful for this program. I'm grateful that it's a program really of suggestions and allows me to have free will to take any steps I want. I have to be quite frank, I do find that, I know we voted a timer in yesterday, I do find it incredibly obnoxious. Just want to put it out there, because every time I look up, it's like right in your face. So I would note to the meeting, if we could do, I've seen other meetings with a much more tactful timer, where it's not quite in your face. It seems really, what's the word? And I'll leave it at this. It seems very, there's a lot of room for improvement. So I would highly recommend we leave a timer in the corner as opposed to like right in your face. Just a suggestion. Anyway, that's all I got. I'll pass. Thanks for letting me share. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Xavier. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. Miss Tara, come in and share with us.
Hi, sorry, I got kicked out earlier. It just all of a sudden booted me out and said Zoom was having an issue, so I didn't leave on purpose. So, hi, I'm Tara. I'm new tonight, obviously. So I'm an alcoholic, and I'm just over 100 days sober. And my sponsor was supposed to be with me tonight, but she couldn't come in for some reason. It was giving her some issues too. So, yeah, but that's okay. I'm here by myself. That's all right. So I'm a teacher, and my hard times are the summertime, and that's when I really struggle with mental health, not having that free time after, you know, like today I just worked a 13-hour day, and then to go from having all that free time, it makes it really hard. So yeah, here I am, 100 days sober. I go to meetings in the morning before school. I have to be to work at 6:30 in the morning, so I start my morning with exercise now and going to a meeting and praying. My first 2 times didn't work out too well for me because I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I didn't have a sponsor, and I wasn't doing the steps, and you know, I thought I picked and chose what I was going to do, and that did not work out well. This time I'm doing the steps and working on it and reading it, and I'm on step 4 now. It took me 100 days and a lot of reading, and my sponsor is making me read. Not making me read, I'm enjoying reading the book, and this is my 4th time reading it, and I like it. I'm enjoying studying it. I think it's really good for me. I'm learning how not to be so angry and resentful, and yeah, so thank you for listening to me. That's all I have. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Tara. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. Congratulations on 100 days. That's amazing. All right, Mike, go come in and share with us.
Michael, recovering alcoholic. Hey, I picked this shirt up somewhere, y'all. But hey, I like that part of the reading about being able to go places. Because I remember my first 100 days, and you're doing great, and you're not alone, by the way. I had to guard my sobriety. They talked about, you know, being selfish. They talked about protecting myself. They talked about getting involved in service work, getting a sponsor, just being totally into the program. And there was a time in the very beginning when I feared those places, because those are those places that I used to go get drunk. Those places I used to drink all the time in a restaurant, and then in the store, the grocery stores. Alcohol was always there. It was down an aisle that I had to go down next to. So it was like a thing of fear for me. And because I was still in early sobriety, and I was still craving the alcohol, and I didn't have that spiritual foundation, that spiritual connection, that spiritual relationship that I have now, and as the years have gone by, I've realized that part of that book, when it talks about being able to go places and not have those urges, and to have a place of neutrality, and having a good reason to be in a place, those things don't bother me like they did before. And it's because of the growth, the spiritual connection, my relationship with the God of my understanding. And I was in a meeting the other week, and I was introducing myself, and I said I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I also said that, I used to say that I was alcoholic, but now I say I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I have an allergy. I'm allergic to alcohol, but I have no desire to drink today. And I said, I guess that makes me a recovered alcoholic. And so that just made me think about it. It's like the living, I was working the steps, I was working the program, but I began to live the program, and that made the difference when I started to live. And it was about living for me now. It was because I was dying, I was killing myself. And now I'm able to go anywhere I want to go, anywhere that I need to go, and not have that urge, and not have that craving, or not have a desire to drink. And it's only because of the program and my relationship with God. And I strongly suggest that relationship for me has been the key, and seeking that every day, that connection every day, in the morning, how the big book tells us, how the step tells us, that connection, and then carrying that connection throughout the day. And then at night, thanking God. And if I get another day the next day, then I thank God for helping me not to drink the day before. And now that He's blessed me with this gift, what am I going to do today? I'm going to be of service. I'm going to give to another alcoholic. I'm going to try to help someone else that helped me. So it's about living this program, and you do find your place. You find your way. Find that you or will become in that place of neutrality, where those things don't affect you like they used to. But in the beginning, stay close. Take it one day at a time, and be patient. Thanks. That's all I got.
Thank you, Michael. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope, and coming in with the best shirt in the house. Don't take offense, guys. We're all inclusive. All right. Miss Terry, come in and share with us.
Everybody, I'm Terry, recovered alcoholic. First off, I want to thank or welcome Tara to our group. It's great to have you here and to hear you share. That's awesome, so we could get to know you. And I want to thank Susan for stepping up to do the traditions. You did a great job. Really proud of you. And thank everybody who is of service. I don't see the timer. One of the reasons I wanted to share is so I could see what you're talking about, Xavier, but I don't. I just see it in the corner of the Zoom screen. So first comment is, what is a whoopee party? I have no idea. And I've read this, and I'm sure it's been addressed before, but I don't know what a whoopee party is. I probably would have loved it in my 20s and 30s. And so I wanted to comment on what we read is early on in sobriety, I went to a thing with a bunch of newbies and we went to a bar to listen to some music. And I was so focused on somebody at the next table that was drinking a beer that I had to leave. I couldn't listen to music. I was just staring at this guy's beer. So that taught me something that stuck with me for many years, is that I wasn't ready to be in a place like that. I wasn't a bar drinker either, but anyway, some of you know that I do serve beer for my fun job. It's not for living, but it's for my fun job, and it took me about 10 years before I felt ready to do that. But because people often say, how could you do that? And I said, well, I was 10 years sober already when I started doing it. But I've developed what I call COVID nose. I do not smell it. And I had no term for it before COVID came along. But I could sniff, pour a little bit and sniff it, and I can't smell it. So my brain has given me this defense against it, and I just love how that works. But I'm gonna lower this so you can see. Okay, so if one of the kegs blows and I get splattered from the talent, and people just look at me like kind of overdoing it a little bit, girl, but I recoil from it. I don't want it touching me. So, okay, the big book directory, Whoopee, loud and festive occasion, merrymaking. I like that word, merrymaking. Anyway, that's all I got to share. Glad to see everybody.
Thank you, Miss Terry. Glad you're here. And thank you for sharing your spirit strength and help on the reading. All right, who's going to come in next? Spirit strength and hope on what we just studied. William, come on in.
Hello, my name is William Marconi. Thank everybody for helping me stay sober tonight, and I'm glad to be here. Whenever we read this information like what we read tonight, it gives me a chance to, like a gadget, a mental stick. Give me a chance to see how am I practicing, how am I giving back to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm into sponsorship and myself. What am I doing with my life, And thank God, because of the program. So as I was reading it, somehow I come up with the right answer. The right answer when I talk to a sponsor. I remember this guy. I'm not sponsored, but he always come to me and ask me questions. And one of the things he said, I went to 3 meetings, and I didn't get it, you know what I mean? And I try to tell him, explain to him in a way, you know what I mean? It's a day at a time, you know what I mean? It's something that you have to continue to practice to get done. You want to know when he's going to be spiritual fit, feel spiritual and stuff like that. It takes time, practice. How you get the kind of go, practice, yeah. And thank God I was able to come up with and tell them that in a way without judgment of anything like that, you know what I mean? So whenever we go with this stuff, it give me a chance to see how I might do it, and thank God, And I had early recovery, I had both sides of it. My niece loves me to death. I love her and stuff. And she's a police officer in Florida, and they were having a party. She said, "Oh, come on, they had her somewhere, giving her something in a bar. Oh, come and go with me. She kept telling me, come and go. And y'all had told me to stay out of the bar, people places there. So I was about like a year and a half sober, you know. And I remember going in there, seeing some of that bar that I'd never seen before, man. The glasses and the mirror behind the glasses, the reflection, all that stuff. I seen all that stuff. Now my granddaughter, she was a police officer too, and she had different events that she threw up in the bar. And she always invited me or whatever they had, a baby shower and stuff like that. They still sit up alcohol. It don't bother me anymore because I know what it has done for me. And definitely I stay close to Alcoholics Anonymous because I know it's a day at a time that I recover, you know. So I try to keep myself very spiritual, you know. So I sort of understand that part when I'm paying more attention to the alcohol than I am to the event, my purpose of being there to support them. I know that it's time to move or get up and go, get out of there, you know what I mean? But so far it haven't happened to me since I've been sober, you know, but definitely when I'm working with others, come in good hands to have this information that they wrote in 1939 and still true today. And I always remember this part about the Eskimo in Greenland, you know, ice cap, you know, and they didn't stop. None of the bars, none of the liquor stores closed down because we had stopped drinking, you know. And, so I have to live in a world full of that, you know. Only thing that get me today, you know what I mean? Thank God made me that certain things that I couldn't put in my body. I tried, but I couldn't put in my body. You know, they legalized marijuana here in New York, man. You could drive by car, that stuff would make you dizzy, just the smoke coming out of somebody else's car, you know. But I still don't have a desire to smoke or drink or anything like that. So this reading helped me to get a chance to see how am I doing in this, giving it in my sobriety and giving it back to somebody else. So thank you so much.
Thank you, William. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strengths, and hope with us on the reading. Jamie, come on in. Share with us.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and welcome to everyone. Tara, congratulations on your 100 days, and it's good to see some faces I haven't seen for a while. I want to touch on this first paragraph and a half or so, starting on page 100. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When you look back and realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. When working with a man and his family, you should take care not to participate in their quarrels. You may spoil your chance of being helpful if you do. But urge upon a man's family that he has been very sick and should be treated accordingly. You should warn against arousing resentments or jealousy. You should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight. Show them he has entered a period of growth. Ask them to remember when they are impatient, the blessed fact of his sobriety. You know, folks, when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I hung out with the newcomers, and there was a whole group of us. And there was, while we were supportive to one another in our recovery, we were also still doing old behaviors and trying to live by and have one foot in an old lifestyle and one foot in a new lifestyle. And unfortunately, when one would relapse, then somebody else would get so brokenhearted about it, they'd relapse, and the next would relapse, and so on and so forth. And I came to the realization that I needed to hang out with people who had recovery in their lives, who were actually living by the principles of the program. So I started hanging out with my sponsor and some of the guys that he was sponsoring, and you know, this whole recovery thing started to take place in my life. So when it comes to the idea of working with a man and his families, I know lots of people who won't work with families at all. I do work with families and significant others, and the reason is because my sponsor took the time to work with us. And while he never took sides or anything, he became an example of us having a safe place for discussion. I work with other people's families all the time. Not to be in the middle of their stuff, but maybe to help them look at things in their own personal lives from a different perspective. You know, there is no place in our book where it tells anybody that I get to tell anybody what you gotta. I don't tell you you get to gotta do anything. It gives me the directions on the actions that I'm supposed to take. And if I'm a sponsor that's telling somebody that they gotta do this and they gotta do that, I need to resign from my job because I'm not doing it as the way I am guided to through this book. You know, it is an absolute honor and privilege to work with another alcoholic, and it is an absolute joy to watch them grow. But in the last page of our book, it also talks about, obviously, you can't transmit something you haven't got. So I have to do the work myself. I have to apply it myself in order to be able to help another alcoholic find their pathway to permanent lasting sobriety, to find their pathway to God and their relationship with themselves. And when we do that, what happens is we get to heal from life. And I'm done with 23 seconds left. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope on the reading. Larry, come in and share with us. You're still muted.
You're muted, Larry. Larry, you're still muted. Here, let me send you an unmute key.
Okay, I'm Larry and I'm an alcoholic. I was trying to, I thank you, Jamie, for reading that first part of the chapter, because that's what I was going to do. Because, you know, when I first came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I thought that it would be a great idea to get into another relationship and to get married. And I married my third wife. And everybody told me not to, but I did. And but what I wish would have happened is I would have wished that I would have had a sponsor that would have helped me navigate through the relationship, because what I had was a little bit of AA. I did my steps, and so I had done my inventory, and I had taken my responsibility, and so I kind of saw when I had done something wrong that I promptly admitted it, and so on and so forth. And I had gotten to the place that when I saw something was wrong, that I wanted to immediately talk about it, and so in this relationship I did that. I wanted to communicate. I did not want to just run away from my problems like I did my other two relationships. And so when I did, and what I found is she was more than willing to tell me what she thought I was doing wrong. And I did. As she talked, there were things that I was doing wrong, and I immediately admitted it. I said, "You're right," and you know, this and that. and I immediately accepted responsibility, and I said, I apologize, and I am going to try to do better on these things. And then it kept on going, and I found out she's blaming me for her faults, what I assumed, and things that were her defects of character. But she was blaming it was my fault because I did this and I did that, and I made her do this and I made her do that. Whatever, it didn't matter. I instead of just keeping my mouth shut and keeping everything on, about me, I opened my mouth and I said, I don't accept that as my responsibility, and I talked back. Of course, the relationship became a disaster because I didn't understand about this. I tried to fix her. I tried to fix what was wrong with her. I became an Al-Anon person, and she resisted. And I didn't mean everything, but I didn't understand, and I didn't have anybody to tell me. And I wish that I had somebody to tell me to read the Wise, so that could see that what I was doing. And it was only after my relationship was over and I got another sponsor that sponsor told me to read the chapter on the Wise and see what I was doing, that I understood how the Wise and this section kind of went together. And I now see about relationships a little bit better. Not that I'm ready to have a serious relationship, but I see Alcoholics Anonymous making me a better person because I feel like it shows me a pathway to be a better man, and I so appreciate what it's done for me and what it's doing for me. That's all. I'm Larry.
Thank you, Larry. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and both of us on the reading. Who's going to be next? Art, come in and share with us.
Good evening, folks. My name is Art. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic. And this part that we read tonight is interesting in that it talks about working with the family, which is something that I don't see happening a whole lot. We send them to Al-Anon. Now, of course, when this book was written, Al-Anon didn't exist. But over the years, I have had experience with working with families. My own experience with families was that by the time I sobered up, the first wife and kids were long gone, and she didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore, and I didn't blame her. And the kids really didn't either, and so it took a long time to rebuild a relationship with my children. And over a period of years, we got to the point where we could be in the same room together without trying to destroy one another. And it actually got pretty good. By the time she passed away, we had become friends again. But that's a period of 20, 30 years that this was finally a relationship that was somewhat mended. So even though maybe the family doesn't come back right away, there's still a chance that over a period of time, if you work at it, it can happen. In my case, it was never the same relationship again, but the rebuilding of relationship with my children was an important thing in my life, and I worked at it. But when working with another person, an alcoholic who hasn't lost his family, or maybe has and wants to
He froze. He froze. Maybe he'll come back. Go ahead and go to Linda and come back to him and give him a couple extra minutes when he comes back.
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm alcoholic, and this was a very good reading. When I first came in, the sponsor that I had, she didn't have to work with my family, but she definitely had to work with me. And she just, being a mother herself, she gave me a lot of good suggestions on raising my children, and she gave me a suggestion about making amends, with the family and this and that, letting me know that some people will accept it, some people will not accept it, so she went through the basics with me, and I was very grateful for it, and I always wanted to be just like her. She had 4 years, and I thought that was the greatest amount of time. I was like, oh my gosh, she has 4 years? I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I was astonished. I just didn't perceive in my mind that a person could just stop all that drinking and drugging. I just, I really didn't understand it, but as I stayed, then I understood, this is a journey. This is definitely a journey of recovery. And I was told about the drinking occasions to be careful. And I like what is said here in the big book about check your motives for when you're at a place and it has alcohol, a lot of alcohol. Check your motives. Because I have gone out to places and they had alcohol, but I didn't run to it, didn't bother me. I just stayed away from it and I danced and I had fun. I remember I went to, it was an alumni event from my college, so they of course were serving liquor, and I put my drink down, which was water. I put it down, and then a lot of other people put their cups down too. And I remember one person told me that situation where they had put their cup down, picked it up, and it was alcohol, and they had drank some of it. They spit it out, but and I thought about that, and I said, wait a minute. I just went right back over and I got another cup of water, a different cup, because I don't know whose cup was what. And I just was not going to take that chance, and I do check my motives. I'm not going to purposely go to a place where there's a whole lot of drinking, a whole lot of this and that. I choose where I'm going to go, and alcohol is everywhere. It's all in the world. I'm not going to get on that bus because there's a picture of alcohol on it. I'm not going to watch that movie because I'm just not going to do that. Alcohol is there. And I have to learn how to live in this world with all of that around me, and I tell newcomers that too. And I do tell them, check your motives. If you're going around places where there's liquor, check your motives. And a young lady that spoke at my anniversary, she told her family, she said, I don't think I can come to the barbecue. She said, I'm not ready. And the reason why was because there was a lot, and she said her family drinks a lot, and she said she knew it was going to be a whole lot of liquor there, and she only had 100 and something days herself, so she chose to not engage in that, event that her, whoopee party, whatever her family was going to have. And I was told, when it's too much, You know it's going to be all that drinking there, don't go. And even to this very day, I practice that. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Ms. Linda. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope on the reading. Art, would you like to come in and finish your share?
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I don't know what's going on with my computer, but it does that every now and then. Seems like more often now than lately than it has before. But anyway, as I was talking about the sharing and working with families of people coming in, that's something I've done all along. But then I wanted to touch on this idea of staying away from places where liquor is served and all that. I've never had a problem with that myself. So it's hard for me to relate to some, you know. I have right now, my wife is not an alcoholic. She doesn't drink a lot, but every once in a while she likes to have a drink. I don't have a problem with that. There's beer in my refrigerator. There's wine coolers in the pantry. It doesn't bother me. I don't even think about them most of the time. And I go wherever I want to go. And I don't even think about what other people are doing there. It doesn't matter. I know what I'm going there for. I have a reason to be there, and that's nobody's business what my motives for being there. But I find that when I'm grounded and established in my own sobriety, that I don't have to worry about what other people are doing wherever I'm going to go. It just isn't a problem. I use it as a tool to keep me from going back to drinking. Because I watch people, I see them drinking too much, I see them getting drunk. I'm thinking that was me when I was in my disease, and it reminds me where I want to stay away from returning to. And it doesn't mean that I can't be in the same place where that's going on. It just means that I know that I don't want to return to what I see happening there. So it's a matter of perspective. So I'm sorry about that earlier mishap, and I'll let somebody else talk.
Thank you, Art. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. We are powerless over technical issues. All right, who's next? Jamie, come in and share with us.
Is there truly no one else with their hand up? Thank you for having me on the meeting. I'm Jamie B. I'm an alcoholic. I have 1 week sober today, and I'm making shepherd's pie. So sorry to be, hopefully it's not distracting and obnoxious, but I'm deeply listening to so much tonight. And when I first came into the rooms, I got kind of annoyed with some of the gendered language and like to the wives. And, like, no, I took so much to bring back to my partner who is trying to get into Al-Anon, and I'm coming back as a repeat re-soberer, and I'm just grateful to be here. I don't have much of a story, but like, thank you for all being so open and honest and vulnerable. I have hung on every word, and as I'm stirring my food, like, just very grateful. Thank you for another day, for keeping me here, for the Pickle family, for everyone being willing to share from every different angle. Like, I feel very, very at home in this room. Thank you. Like, that means a lot. That's all I got for tonight. I don't have a specific share on this, so thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Glad you're here. Welcome home and congratulations on 7 days. That's amazing. All right. Who would like to come in next? You, Stephanie, Kenny, Donald, Susan, Shayla, and Betty. Kenny, you didn't come in.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Good evening. My name is Kenny. I'm an alcoholic. It's kind of, I did other things other than alcohol, and the alcohol, I have no desire. When I go visit my mother, she has a beer that's been there in the refrigerator for 5 years. As long as I'm sober, that's how long that Coors beer has been there. And she has a bottle of wine that's been there, probably vinegar now, and I have no desire, it doesn't bother me. Now the other things, like when I walk down the street, they legalize marijuana. I can't stand the smell of it. It turns me off. And then there's other things that I have no business being around. So I remember, it's fresh in my mind, of the hell that I've been through. The homelessness, living in shelters, living in crack houses, eating out of the dumpster, picking up cigarette butts off the ground and smoke. I was a real bottom alcoholic. I didn't drink top shelf. I drank Georgie. Stuff that wasn't really wine, but I drank it. So now I don't go around. But if I went around alcohol, it doesn't bother me. I have no desire. I pray in the morning. I talk with God during the day when I'm troubled or whatever. I thank Him in the evening, and I keep my program very simple. I got a group of guys that text me. I text them. I got 1 or 2 newcomers that I try to work with. They're in and they're out, but I still be of help to them any way I can. And I think I'm doing okay. I don't share a lot because I've been around the block a few times, and I learned that it's best for me to be quiet unless I really have something to say. It's not like I don't have any experience, but I have no desire to drink. I have no desire to be that bum again. When I started this journey, I was in my late 20s. Now I'm in my early 60s. And I don't have 20 or 30 something years of sobriety, but I've been in and out for the last few decades. Now I decided to stay, and I'm staying by listening and trying to do what you people tell me to do. I try to help others. It's a clean house and help others. And that's what I try to do when I'm trying to, I don't know, I'm going to talk with my sponsor about going through the steps again. Maybe that, I don't know, but I think I'm living right. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Kenny. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. Who's next? Hi, Steph. Come in and share with us.
Hey, Stephanie, recovered alcoholic. So I came in late and I didn't catch the reading, but I'm just getting the gist of it here. But, you know, when I first went into AA back in the 90s, that it was not safe for me to be around other people that were drinking, and I was surrounded by them. Something clicked in my mind. I realized that, you know, when we say we choose people that drink like us to associate with and surround ourselves with, well, I found somebody said something that made me think, you know, I used to choose the TV shows I watched because I wanted to watch the Charlie Sheen and Sex and the City, and where it was normal for people to drink like I drank. And since this last 4 years that I've been sober, I think going through the program, I've evolved to, you know, I don't want to be in these places. The places that I go to now, you know, I'm really particular about where I go. I have no desire to, and that's just me. You know, somebody else might like to go muck it up, you know, on a weekend night at a bar, but that's just not where I'm at anymore. And it's like everything changed. My desires, and where I want to be, and who I want to spend my time with, and how I want to spend my time. And I don't want to ever go back, because unlike that childhood pain, I remember my last hangover. I don't want to go back, so that's about it. I'll give somebody else my 247. Love yous.
Thank you, Steph. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. Marilyn, Donald, Susan, Shayna, or Betty, would you guys like to come and share with us?
You got a hand up, Alyssa.
Xavier, come in and share.
Oh, thanks, Xavier, recovered alcoholic. Just want to double dip. Thank you again for removing the clock. I want to say I'm very impressed at how fast this meeting's gone. This is my home group. I absolutely adore this meeting. I've actually never seen it run this smoothly. So, thank you so much. You know, just for being of service and really helping a lot of shares happen. And I think this is the first time I've heard this many shares in this meeting, and I'm getting a lot out of it. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Xavier. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing that experience, strength, and hope, and thank you for being of service. Oh, I didn't say Trish. Trish, you're welcome. Share too. I left you out of that. That was not intentional.
That's okay, I was a later rider. Other commitments once a month. Hi everybody, I'm Tristan, I'm an alcoholic. And I love the fact that it says in here, burn into the consciousness of every man. He can get well regardless of anyone. And Yeah, that was last week's, never mind. Same place on the next page, you should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight. So often I work with people, and myself included, I've been sober X number of days, months, years, and the realization that I didn't reach that point that I reached overnight. And I'm not going to be a well-adjusted member of society overnight either. And I've got to stick with the work, and I've got to do the work, and I've got to continue doing the work in order to be that productive member of society. But a part of being a productive member of society is also helping others and working with others. And, you know, sometimes it's just working with the alcoholic, but there are times that I've ended up working with family members as well. And by working with family members, it's not always just, here's a meeting list for Al-Anon, go enjoy yourself, but actually sitting down and talking with them through the process and giving them the tools of what they can do themselves for their own betterment. Even though they don't have a drink to put down, there's still the spirituality and finding that relationship with God and finding that spirituality. And that can be so helpful, not just to the alcoholic, but also for the family, especially if the alcoholic is still drinking. And of course, I've got to touch on the place of not avoiding places if there's a legitimate reason for being there. And I remember I was probably only 2 or 3 months sober and had a family reunion up on Long Island. And it wasn't a place where I could take my own car. It wasn't a place where cell phones were available yet so that I could call people. But I had God in my pocket. And I had the support of the people that I had met in the rooms, even though I hadn't been there long. And I ended up spending the day with the kids. Surprise, surprise, given what I do for a living. And I interacted with a lot of the adults. Some were sober, not quite so sober, but also by being sober and by being there and watching, I was able to recognize part of the family tree, shall I say, which maybe had they lived longer would have found their way into these rooms. And a couple particular conversations about that with people that I don't know that I would have been a part of if I hadn't been sober, even though they didn't realize at the time that I was so very newly sober or sober at all. But making the best of the situation and finding people there that I could talk to and that I could spend the day with, and not just obsessing over the fact that there were people in the next room drinking over and over and over again, but knowing that I had a purpose there. And while I didn't have a way out, I had a God in my pocket. And I knew that I was going to be okay that day. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish. Glad you're here. And thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and help on the reading. All right. Marilyn, would you like to come in and share?
Okay, I guess that's my turn.
The floor is yours, ma'am.
I'm Marilyn, and I'm a recovered alcoholic. So this chapter here, for me, I did go to places where they drank, but I also made sure I had a way out. But I didn't go there because I went there for the wrong reasons, just put it that way. And mind you, thank God I was able to leave there and not drink. And then, about 8-9 years ago, I went to another place, and I went there because it was a Christmas party, but I made sure that I was able to get out. But they weren't drinking
alcoholically. Like I don't think anybody was alcoholic there, but they sure got drunk. And but and one of the ladies asked me if I wanted a shooter, and I said no, thank you. I said because I am the DD driver, and she goes, oh, that's okay. She said you can sleep upstairs, and so, but I said no, I didn't want any, but I was able to leave there and with my friend, and we got home. But I just have to say this. I don't particularly like going around places where people are drinking. I have a problem with that because I don't really need to be there. I know that and if I am, it feels really weird to me because I'm not used to being around people that drink, so it feels kind of weird to me. And some people don't know that I'm an alcoholic. But anyways, yeah, I just don't like being around. But anyways, and that's a good thing because I don't want to be around it. And a couple of years ago, I was in Ontario visiting my family, and of course, there's a lot of drinking going on there. I did go for New Year's dinner. I went and just ate, and I took off after that. And I went during the week to another little gathering where they were playing poker and they were having drinks and they were having some food. And I went there for the food. Sorry. And as soon as I had some food, I left because I was hungry, and I didn't cook anything at my place or at my brother's place. And but he had a case of beer there, and for whatever reason, he left it there, and I watched, and it didn't bother me. And he took some beer with him when he went to different places until it was gone. And another time, I can't talk to my family and try and sober them up and tell them, it's don't drink or anything like that. I just let it rest, and if they want to, excuse me, if they want to get sober, it's up to them. My family knows that I don't drink, and I was going to leave a big book there, but I didn't. But later on, my younger brother and I did talk about it, but anyways, he didn't go to treatment. So, but anyways, something happened to me. I guess I wasn't spiritually fit. I don't know, but in the china cabinet out here, there was a little bottle of, I don't know, some kind of whiskey, and it was sitting in the china cabinet up high. And I was coming to the big book study, and I was always at the kitchen table. But every time, I went through a period of time where that bottle actually bothered me. Because when I went to the kitchen table, I'd bring my laptop, and I would look there, and then I would see this bottle, and it bothered me. And then it got to the point where when I went out and I came into the house, time's up, I would look at it. And so finally I had to ask, can you please remove that because I don't like it there. So I don't know if I think maybe I was spiritually fit, but I just didn't like it there. And yeah, okay, I'll quit. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope on the reading. All right, Suzanne or Miss Betty, would either one of you like to come in and share? No? All right, Jamie. It's
Yeah.
you for the closing, right?
Guess we've hit all the boxes. Thank you for your service, Alyssa. From page 164, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is a great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. All right. We have a special way of closing out here in primary purpose. Since we can't hold hands together, we hold our hands up to our virtual screens, and we will have a moment of silence for those still sick and suffering in and out of our rooms. Who brings us from shame to grace if we let Him? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.